Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we are your hosts of the Jedi Enclave Presents the Now This Is Podcasting podcast, our weekly discussion about all things Star Wars and Marvel and other things that we enjoy. Mm-hmm. And you're here. How lucky for you.
Wow.
You could have missed this.
Amazing.
And you haven't. Congratulations.
And or condolences?
Probably.
Yeah.
Actually, probably.
Yeah.
So today I'm going to try. I always think that we never have enough stuff to get through an hour, and then we always go over.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try not to, not to linger too much on stupid crap, because first we have Ahsoka episode 3
Mm-hmm.
that happened last night. So we're going to recap that. There will be spoilers, but we'll let you know. Like it won't be a huge surprise. And then we got some Star Wars news, some stuff some stuff that wasn't, like, I don't know. A couple things are kind of interesting. And yesterday, from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi dropped. That I thought was pretty cool. I haven't finished reading it yet, but we'll talk about it for like a second.
Okay.
If you're watching this on YouTube through our podcast, the time codes are in the description. Go check that out. If you want to skip to whatever, you go do that at your own heart's content. Thanks to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. He's a buddy of ours. We like him. Go like his stuff because he's cool. And then since you're in the mood for liking things, you could like our stuff. You could subscribe to our stuff. All the links to our socials are in the description of this video, and along with our Discord, by the way, which is a kind of a cool place to be. We started last week on Sunday. We started Gungans and Dragons, mm-hmm. and our tabletop RPG Star Wars project, which was kind of fun, kind of an interesting thing. I'd never done anything like that before. We're still kind of ironing out the kinks and figuring out how to make it work well.
It can only get better.
Yeah. So that'll be this Sunday, and then directly after this at 7, we're going to be doing a Battlefront 2 with our buddies from Gremlin Squad, which will be a cool thing that you can witness, and also probably is where we'll kind of continue the discussion about everything that's been going on with Ahsoka and everything. So yeah, let's get going. Let's get on this.
Okay.
So the first thing, this one's kind of weird because people are debating about the Ahsoka premiere numbers. Yes. Right. And so much so that Disney felt the need to report their internal numbers for the opening, mm-hmm. which is exceedingly rare. That kind of thing does not happen. Right. So, and they put it out with a press release. But so Samba TV, which I didn't even know was a thing until yesterday, reported that the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka over a 6-day period had 1.8 million viewers. Sorry.
That's pretty low.
It is unbelievably low, right? And I know some of you guys are sitting there drooling from the mouth, screaming, "Go woke, go broke!" And
there's too many women in my Star Wars.
This felt a little weird to me, right? So I looked into it a little bit. I can see why Disney was like,
"That's not true."
Actually, we've got some other numbers. So this is what their number Samba TV is based on. You have to have their app on a smart TV, and you have to have the option where you're sharing your data selected, which ordinarily is not selected by default. Mm. This is a terribly flawed way to collect data on things, and it is no wonder why it says there are only 1.8 million viewers for the opening. So Disney was like, okay, everybody stop. Our internal numbers say 14 million viewers on the first episode. Mm-hmm. Just the first episode.
Just the first.
And it apparently became the most watched Disney Plus title, at least that week or maybe ever. I can't remember. Now, here's the thing about I mentioned earlier that streaming services don't like to put their viewership numbers out because they have to do. Okay, so if you're a streaming service and you have a show, and it does very poorly, there are a lot of instances where there are certain people that worked on that project you don't have to pay. and you get like an insurance write-off.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very valuable to them, to kind of let everyone know if something isn't doing particularly well, right? On the other hand, it's like this weird tightrope thing they have to do where they want to brag about their brand, right?
Sure,
so you would think that they would get out there and be like, oh, we're doing really well. But then if they go out and say, oh, we're doing really well, they can't be like, oh, we did real poorly, so we can't pay you. So sorry. Like this exact thing happened to David Prowse, by the way. They wrote off the entire original trilogy as a loss, and David Prowse just didn't get paid. It's bullshit. So the fact that they were like, actually, we did fantastically well in this. Fuck off. Because I would be really hesitant about believing their internal numbers as well.
Yeah.
Just because like they do have a reason to lie about not doing well, but they also have a reason to let everyone know. Be like, yeah, it's not doing as well as we thought, and then behind the scenes be like, give me that fucking insurance money.
Yeah.
Because then they're still making money and it doesn't matter, right? So. For all of you, I've seen about, 10 or 20. Oh, Ahsoka bombs on the first day from, geeks and gamers and, Star Wars theory or whatever the fuck else. And you guys don't know what you're talking about. We're not going to know the truth about the viewership until this is like done and over with. The way we'll know if they had a lot of viewers is if there's a second season for Ahsoka.
Oh, yeah.
That's when we'll know if it was really, received really well. And then there's like the other thing too, where like, in the case of Andor, where it opened kind of slow, but then as people heard about it, they started watching it more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone's like, oh, this is actually really good. So like people, the other thing too that this doesn't take into effect, which I think is a funny thing that they have to grapple with nowadays, is how to factor in how many people have pirated the show.
That was one of the thoughts I had.
Yeah, because like Game of Thrones, for example, when it was coming out, was the most pirated show in history, and might actually still be.
Probably.
If not that, maybe House of the Dragon. It's probably some HBO show because all their shows are fucking great.
Yeah.
So like, imagine being like, okay, so we had 14 million legitimate viewers, but there's a good chance we have like 10 million illegitimate viewers.
Also, I don't think Disney has any way of like distinguishing whether one person or an entire room full of people watched any particular view.
Yeah.
So that's 14 million plays.
Yeah.
It's not like the actual number is probably 2 to 3 times that if you're counting the number of people who have physically seen the show.
Yeah, at least the Nielsen ratings do like families, I guess.
Households, I think.
Yeah, which is a little more nebulous, and it's, I don't know. Streaming is a weird thing in general because like everyone expects streaming shows to work like network TV shows, and they just don't. They're just like entirely different beasts. And I'm not an expert on it either. Like I barely know what the fuck's going on too. So Ahsoka's not bombing. Everyone calmed the fuck down. Like it's doing fine. I wasn't so crazy about today's episode. I mean, it was fine. Like I had fun, but I wasn't crazy about it. Speaking of
Ahsoka,
yeah,
let's talk about Dave Filoni. So, Ahsoka is, as we said, doing
not
bombing,
which could be argued not a terribly high bar, but still.
So, in some part, due to Dave Filoni, who's showrunner and writer, who is also on the hook for an entire Star Wars movie.
I remember the old days, Chris, where we were like, get this man a feature film. And that's what everyone else is saying. And I wonder at what point they're like, Dave Filoni, will you do a feature film? And he's like, oh, fuck. Yes, I think.
I guess.
Yeah. I also like how, when the news came out about him doing the film, this is entirely separate, but he went on record to talk about where, the best education he got for doing something in live action and how it was Rian Johnson. And everyone, because before that everyone's like, oh, Dave Filoni's going to save Star Wars, and that happened, everyone was like, Dave Filoni, boo. Motherfuckers.
Anyway, earlier this year, during Star Wars Celebration, Dave Filoni gave an interview, and someone asked him, like, are you going to use the volume for your movie? And he said, basically, maybe. Like,
depends.
because there's a lot of things at play here. Like Dave Filoni started doing animation on the Clone Wars cartoons, so that's kind of his most natural background. On the other hand, he's also done a bit of live action, first with Mando and now with Ahsoka, and his point was basically there's some shots that the volume does pretty well, like interiors with a lot of gribbly bits and special effects. The volume's fantastic for. There's also some things that the volume is not so great for that you get better results if you just go outside and actually film
and touch some grass, you fucking noob.
Exactly. So he said basically, I'm willing to do either. It depends on what the story requires.
Yeah,
which is what I would expect a responsible director to say.
Yeah. Also, like, there's also a difference between doing a show for Disney Plus streaming and doing a feature film. Like the budgets they're not actually as different as they used to be because they've sunk a lot of money into some of these recent Star Wars shows. A good example is The Acolyte. I think they like almost spent $300 million, which is like a feature film budget. Feature film budget for something that's 2 to 3 times the length. That's actually really that's a really good point when you calculate the amount of money per minute of product or whatever. Yeah. I'm sure that actually there's more money available to you if you're doing a feature film. So like if you're doing a feature film for Disney and they're giving you a feature film budget, like you're gonna go, you get their royal treatment and you do as much as you can that looks as best as it can. So I was wondering why this showed up on Star Wars Newsnet even. Because he said this I didn't catch it. This was it.
I guess they're just riding the
Ahsoka thing.
Ahsoka.
Yeah. I mean, it's whatever. Some Star Wars video game news. As a part of the 2023 Gamescom convention, it's been revealed that Night Dive Studios, who recently remastered some older FPS titles like System Shock and Quake 2, neither of which I've played, neither of which I recognize, will be remastering Star Wars Dark Forces.
That one I hope you recognize.
I do. And so they're going to do it for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. And according to IGN, who's carrying this first, I think, the cutscenes will be remastered to feature 3D models and illustrated characters instead of relying on animated sprites. I don't know what the fuck that even means.
Well, in the old cutscenes, like it was the really obvious pixel art, and like when people were talking, like their lips might move but nothing else.
Oh, okay.
And like there were like
I thought they did live action cutscenes for that.
Not for the first one.
Oh yeah, maybe that would have been the second one, I guess.
Yeah, the
guy with the eye patch, maybe.
Yes.
Oh, it's been a long time since I've played those. I should pull one of those out at some point, probably after Starfield's coming out on Friday night. Yes. So like that's what I'll be doing for a while.
Books you solid for a week or two.
But I should pull this out again because it'd be kind of neat. But anyway, they're not changing the visuals of the gameplay substantially. But
just prettying them up.
Yeah,
adding a couple more pixels.
Right, they're going to upscale to 4K, which is more than just a couple pixels, I think, and 60 FPS.
Yeah, the original game was probably like 640 by 480 or something.
Yeah, yeah,
really big.
It's what games used to be.
It's just what monitors used to be.
Right. And if you're thinking, well, what the fuck is Star Wars Dark Forces? It was a 1995 Star Wars FPS. It was considered a Doom clone because it was like Doom was a really big thing for that FPS, and so everyone was like making copies of it. And Star Wars was like, we'll make Doom, but it'll just be Star Wars. And I'm pretty sure that's the one where
the very first level is you stealing the Death Star plans.
I wonder how they don't need to reconcile that with canon because they're just like, it's an old game, it's not canon, we're just having fun with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but also they introduced stuff like the Dark Trooper program, which, as we all know, showed up in Mandalorian season 2 and everything. So
also the first introduction of Kyle Katarn.
Yeah. By the way,
one of my favorite Jedi from the old EU. He's all right. I guess.
I liked him in the games. I don't know how much I liked him. So we were John and I were talking after watching Ahsoka last night because as we're going to talk about when we get into this, there was a little bit of Star Wars lore they kind of started to get into a little bit, and John looks over at me and is like, "So are they breaking canon with this?" And I was like, not really.
By definition, they're not, because they are making canon as they go.
Right, and it was like in Legends, you could go to the Valley of the Jedi and just get shot with the Force and have the Force. So like,
just get the Force injected into your veins.
Yeah, so like if that can happen, then it's not really, you know.
Yeah.
Frankie says first. I think you mean first comment. Good job. We have a badge for that. No, we don't. Hi, Scott. Heyo. Don't call me a ho. Rakesh says the Mike Zero Live of the week. Probably the Ahsoka is bombing thing.
Yeah.
I haven't done it. I don't want to spoil our Ahsoka shit with Mike Zero.
Yeah.
It just kind of
That's fair.
He puts me in a bad mood. He looks like he smells like chicken fat. It just like allegedly. I'm not saying he does. I just heard from a reliable source that he smells like chicken fat because he doesn't shower and is constantly fucking himself with a Kathleen Kennedy dildo.
Anyway, let's
allegedly
things that make us happy instead of things that make us irate.
So before we get into Ahsoka, by the way, I mentioned from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi dropped yesterday. I've been reading it. I've gotten like a few tales in. And if you don't know what this is, it's actually a really neat concept where we all know what happens during the original trilogy. And we follow like one of three characters.
The main characters.
Yes. But in most of those scenes, there are other people. And these tales are all the tales from all the other people. And they've...
I think in the first one, you're telling me about this torrid gay romance on the Death Star.
Yeah, and the second in the Empire Strikes Back version... We were just talking about this the other night, actually, on stream, about how on Hoth, all the rebels in the rebel base were all taking bets on whether or not Han and Leia were fucking. Because they were, like, always out in the hallway yelling at each other and shit. And so, like they'd go out to scream at each other, and, like, everyone in the control room would look at each other like, am I going to win some money? They put some serious stuff in there, too. Like, they're in Empire Strikes Back, Palpatine has... a premonition about what would be Kylo Ren. And like there are some like cool things in there too. Some of it's goofy, some of it's cool, some of it is you know not supposed to be good, like serious. I think one of the ones I really liked from the first one was R2D2 telling R4 what he's there for.
Hey, you really need to blow yourself up so that I can save the galaxy.
Like this is what's happening. I need to execute this mission. And R4 is like, I'll just blow my own motivator.
All right, you got it, boss.
Yeah.
Kaboom.
Yeah, and that's how that's how that whole thing. That's how the whole thing works. Is that it's everything is like you're looking through a retcon glass, and like, oh, okay, so there's more to this story than you think. So, I'm like 4 or 5 stories into it so far. So far, the first story is about Moff Jerjerrod, and actually, it's an interesting story because like you find out that like Vader's like, hey, the Emperor is going to come here, and this battle station isn't ready yet, and you're going to be fucked. It turns out that the project was purposefully stalled so that Palpatine could have an excuse to come to the Death Star, and that would get back to the rebels and draw them there. And how there was this actual secret plan to make sure the super laser was working, so that when they got there, they would see the Death Star and it had like scaffolding and shit on it, and like the half of it's painted.
We can get in there and blow it up, and then all of a sudden one of their ships blows up.
Which is it's like what ends up happening and shit. And there's one like kind of boring love story. I was like, there's one told from the Rancor keeper's point of view, which is really funny because he was sold into slavery a bunch and ends up coming to Jabba the Hutt, and they're like, we've got this Rancor and he keeps eating our guards, and if you can't break him in a week, we're gonna like put him down. And he like was like, no, don't. He's so cute, and like trains this Rancor, and then like rumors start going around that there's going to be a Jedi coming to Jabba's palace, and he's like, oh. Maybe I'll ask him to free us.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because Luke kills the Rancor, and yeah. I think that story starts off with, I would really like to feed a Jedi to a Rancor, which I think is pretty funny. The one that really cracked me up, though, the one that is like my favorite so far, is told from Bib Fortuna's point of view.
Okay.
Not from a certain point of view.
From Bib Fortuna's point of view.
Where like he wakes up. He's like going about his day. Like wakes up and he's like, "Oh right, I work for fucking Jabba the Hutt. I fucking hate this guy." And he like does his day-to-day job, and he's like, "You know what? I really ought to kill that fat motherfucker, and I could take everything over.
Yeah.
I could totally do it. Like I could handle this job.
And one day I'll be the fat motherfucker
Yeah.
on the dais.
Right. Like if Jabba could do it, then you know." And then like Luke shows up and gets captured, and Bib Fortuna's like, he's kind of distracted now. Like this might be my moment.
Yeah.
And Jabba the Hutt's like, "All right, we're gonna go have a party out by the Sarlacc. Like everyone come out here. We'll all be drunk."
Yeah.
And Bib Fortuna's like, "Oh, okay. So what I'll do, I'll bring a gun with me, and I'll make sure that we put all the guards on the skiff with Luke. That way there aren't many guards in his like little throne room.
Mm-hmm.
And then when everyone's focused on this and they're drunk and they're, you know, fucking in the basement or whatever, I'll shoot him in the head."
Yeah.
So
It's foolproof.
yeah, so he's like, they pull up to the Sarlacc pit, and he's like sitting in his chair, and like Luke's walking out on the plank, and Bib Fortuna's like trying to psych him. He's like, okay, I can do this. And then like he looks out the window, and Luke jumps off the plank, and then he's like, what is
he oh God,
he has a lightsaber.
Oh God, he's killing everyone.
Everyone's dying. What am I gonna? And he's like, oh, hold on a second.
Wait.
Like I can salvage this. Everyone's so focused on this. Everyone in here is just looking at this. I'll just kill Jabba right now. And he like tries to like psych himself up for it. And he's like, okay. And he looks over and Leia
choking the fuck
throws
out
a chain around his neck and is like choking him. And he's like, okay,
She has more balls than I do.
this is working out great.
Yeah.
And then like one thing leads to another, and like he's like, oh, but what about Boba Fett? Like he's gonna figure out that I was gonna do this, and like and then like Han or Chewie like hits him into the Sarlacc pit, or Chewie or Han, yeah, and he's like, oh, well, okay,
That's all. That's
yeah,
all coming
the
up
fortunate Bib Fortuna, and then he's knocked unconscious, and like when he thinks he's gonna die. Knocks unconscious. He's woken up, by the way, by Gamorrean trying to give him CPR. He's like, oh, that's fucking gross.
Please.
And like he wakes up with 2 Gamorrean guards. Everything's destroyed. Everything is got. The skiff is the pleasure barge is destroyed. They're just laying in the sand. And he looks at the 2 Gamorrean guards and he's like, where is everybody? And he's like, they're all dead. You're the boss. And he's like, holy shit. How did I do that? And that's how he just like, it's like a
he was just
rude,
there.
like, yeah, like it's just like the whole thing is just fucking hilarious the whole time. So I just felt so happy for him too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm glad that you did nothing. You just happened upon certain, like each circumstance, but now you're the boss. Good job.
He won by doing nothing.
Yeah. But we know how that ends for Bib Fortuna.
Boba!
Yeah. So, we got to talk about Ahsoka episode 3 because that happened yesterday and it's a thing we like. Let's do a quick spoiler free.
Okay.
Just so everyone, if you're getting into this, first of all, like, subscribe, do all that other shit. I just lost my train of thought because I was going to do something else. It's fine.
Okay.
I will cut that out hopefully for the podcast. I might not. I said that last week, made it into the podcast because I forgot about it.
Oh.
Who the fuck knows? Let me know in the comments. Did this make it in? Well, now it kind of has to make it in.
No, it doesn't.
Well, how are they going to know what to do in the comments?
Well, you can tell them to do something
They'll have no
else
idea
in
what the fuck I'm talking about. Like,
Exactly.
what did we miss? You can show up to our live show, and there's no way I can edit that. So what was I saying? Ahsoka.
Spoiler free?
Yeah, spoiler free for a second. Let me hear your thoughts.
It's too short.
Yeah, it is.
But like, we all knew the 3rd episode was going to be short after the first 2 were nice and long, but like the pacing of this episode really makes it apparent that like I just wanted more. I wanted it to continue after, like, we got to the point where we ended satisfactorily. I just wanted more after that.
Yeah.
Kind of getting blue balled here.
I think it clocked in at 38 minutes.
Something like that, yeah.
The credits were 5 minutes. The previously on plus the
2 or 3, yeah.
credits at the beginning, it was like a 25-minute episode, 28-minute episode. To put that into perspective, the Padawan show for like the real little kids, like the animated show for like 3-year-olds, is about the same length. and that's terrible. Like this, I get that Star Wars is a show for kids, but it should probably be a little bit longer than your show for literal 3-year-olds. Like this is not a good format for epic stories like this, and at some point you got to stop. Like, I get that Star Wars is a show for kids. Who are the ones watching it right now? Right?
Yeah.
It's like it has to be something more substantial. It almost certainly is going to be a cost-cutting thing, probably.
It has to be.
Or they make as many. They've cut as many episodes as possible. Like maybe they could have had like 5 or 6 hour-long episodes, but they're like, or we can get 3 or 4 more weeks out of subscription, like an extra month out of someone for the subscription if we cut those in half and have it go on for longer, which is almost certainly what it is now that I think about it. It's shitty, and I don't think I've met one person who is like, oh, I really like how short these are. Like, generally people are like, this is too short, and I really wish that they would stop doing shit like that.
That's about the only criticism I can give, actually.
Yeah, otherwise
the
it
rest
was
is
fine.
Really fucking good.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I've seen a couple of people talk about how maybe it was like a little bit of a filler episode. I didn't think it was that fillery. I think that it was fine.
I feel like it moved the plot along.
Yeah. So we are going to start spoiling the shit out of this. So if you've not seen it, please go and watch it. Come back. Let us know what you think in the comments. What your thoughts are. After this as well, I'll pull up some comments from some of our followers about what they thought as well. So previously on, we have to do this since the fucking show does it. So we're in the New Republic era. The Empire's fallen, but there are whispers of the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn, he's blue and he's real smart. He's wicked smart. That's pretty much all you need to know. And his loyal servant Morgan Elsbeth, with the help of Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, who are 2 orange lightsaber wielding Force users.
Jedi? Question mark?
No, I think they're not Jedi. I think they're decidedly not Jedi. Also not Sith. I think that they just, Baylan was a Jedi. He's not a Jedi anymore. He's like, we got the Force and lightsabers, but we do whatever the fuck we want, So they're all looking for Thrawn, and they're building this giant hyperspace ring to make a jump to another galaxy with the help of a map that they stole from Sabine, right? Mm-hmm. Sabine is now officially training with Ahsoka because she got her ass whipped by Shin, and she doesn't want that to happen again, right?
More specifically, she got like her kidney stabbed.
Yeah. If Thrawn, probably not. That would have missed her kidney. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What? So if Thrawn is alive, there could be a chance that Ezra is as well, which is kind of the good guy's motivation. Yeah. But also, if Thrawn's alive, that's real fucking bad news anyway. So they're very motivated. Everyone's very motivated to find Thrawn right now. So we open on Ahsoka, watching over Sabine and Hugh Yang as they practice lightsaber combat. Mm-hmm. And so like Hugh Yang's doing like his General Grievous impression with like his forearms, and he's like,
here, hit this, now hit this, now hit this.
He's saying he's doing some weird language things. Mm-hmm. I was watching with the subtitles on, and he says things like Kirei, Kisei, Gyuki, and then set, which I think is like a reset command. I'm
pretty sure they just made this up specifically for the show, and it's supposed to be like some ancient Jedi stuff from really old languages or whatever.
I have in my notes that it sounds just like old Aikido classes I've been in where the teacher would count in Japanese. And
could also be that.
Yeah, you do like different things. Speaking of Aikido, the subtitles confirm that they are using bokken, which are traditional Japanese wooden training swords. Not shinai, by the way. Looking at you, new rock star. Not that you know who the fuck we are, but they're like, they're like those kendo things. Different weapons. They're made out of different things, and they're used for entirely different sword arts. Yeah. But I've got a bokken probably less than 20 feet away from me at all times. I've got a couple of them. It's probably in my storage room over here.
Yeah, probably.
But they're cool. I've lost many teeth to one. I've broken fingers to one. I've got a scar. I've got a couple of scars actually, because those motherfuckers hurt when they hit your knuckles. They're real bad. So I don't know what the point of this exercise is, by the way. Like, it's like they took, you know how you do you cut the bamboo mats? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that a little bit, but like he's like moving them around and shit. Because like she finishes the exercise, and like you can see where she was cutting, and I guess where she is supposed to be cutting.
Yeah, I guess.
Or something. I don't know. I'm probably reading into way too much, and none of this shit matters. The point is that she was training, but I was like, what? How do you win this?
What are they doing?
Yeah. How do you win this? So Hugh Yang is like, I won't lie, it wasn't great. It wasn't dog shit, but like that's a low bar, and you've barely cleared it. Minimum champion. Good job.
Seems like thanks, dick.
Yeah. She's like, give me a break. Like I'm super rusty, and Hugh Yang was like, you weren't that great when you were training before, so
thanks again.
Yeah.
Dick.
And Ahsoka's like, hey, good thing is like you still remember the basics, and Hugh Yang is like, does she? Because I see no evidence of that. Ahsoka's like, Hugh Yang, hit her with a little bit of a Zatoichi, I think is what she says. Some fucking made up word. Mm-hmm. And Hugh Yang is like, that would probably kill her. And Sabine's like, Hugh Yang, fuck off. Like, I can do anything. So Ahsoka's like, you've got this advantage where you're really good with weaponry because you're a Mandalorian and weapons are like your religion or whatever. But like, that's not going to cut it. And she's like, the lightsaber will cut it. And she's like, not like that. Sabine, fucking focus. And Sabine like looks at her newly healed lightsaber wound. Is like, oh, you don't say. It's not enough. And Ahsoka's like, you can't just train your body. Like, you got to train your mind. The Force is hard. Like, you got to be committed. Giggity. And Sabine was like, well, according to Hugh Yang, I am the worst Jedi candidate that the Jedi Order has ever seen. And Ahsoka looks over at Hugh Yang and he shrugs and he's like, I mean, if the shoe fits.
So it's like, why did you tell her that?
Right.
I'm trying to build up her self-esteem here. You're not helping.
Hugh Yang is the destroyer of self-confidence. So she walks over to a storage closet, which I think is good. Like there's different lightsaber hilts and shit in there. And she got a fancy version of Luke's blast shield helmet from episode 4. And she's like, here, put this on. I saw it in a fucking movie. And so she puts it on. She's like, I won't be able to see. And Ahsoka's like, use your eyes, or your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Yeah. And it's like, okay, we get what you're doing.
Yeah.
So they do a little game where Ahsoka sneaks around on her little tippy toes and like taps Sabine and like tries to get her to like, fight, but she can't see a fucking thing. So actually it's really cool where she's like, okay, where am I standing? And she's like, you're over by Hugh Yang, that piece of shit. And
all of a sudden Ahsoka's behind her like, are you
like in a completely different place. And like the way it's shot, like all of a sudden she's there. I'm like, oh God, how did you get over there? Yeah. So she doesn't do well. And like toward the end she gets real fed up and like she figures out where Ahsoka is and just freaks out and like just tries to batter her to death. And then like Ahsoka's able to knock her over.
Just kind of trips her.
Yeah. And she's like, here's the thing about anger. Like it'll give you fast results, but it will also make you kill an entire room of younglings in a desperate attempt to save your wife from dying in childbirth.
So it means like that's oddly specific.
That is oddly specific. And she's like, teach what you know. So meanwhile.
So I just want to say, I love this scene because the part where Ahsoka and Sabine are sparring, like there are no words for like 2 minutes straight. And that's something the show has the confidence to do. Just let its actors be on screen and just move around and act with their bodies and their faces and not say anything. And that's not something a lot of shows do.
Yeah, that's true. Did you also notice, the one thing I was distracted by the whole time?
What?
On the side of Ahsoka's Boken, it just looks like the universal symbol for USB. Did you notice that?
No.
We'll look at it later. It's in our that Boken's in our thumbnail. Like it really just does look like that little 3-pronged.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Just like over and over and over. The whole time I was like, is that a USB stick as well? Like I don't get it.
She's gonna pull off the hilt and just jam it into the computer.
Well, she wouldn't get it the first time correctly. So, meanwhile, we get some cool, majestic music from Kevin Kiner, and this like great glory shot of the New Republic Defense Fleet, and there's a cap of blue A-wings flying and shit. Hera has like a buddy, like an officer that she's talking to, and she's like, "Where's the Chancellor?" And he's like, "Well, she's in there with a bunch of senators," and she's like, "Well, as long as Xiono isn't with them, like this will probably go pretty well." And he's like, "Xiono's in there with them."
I have some terrible news.
Yes. God damn it.
Fuck. Hate that guy.
So she walks in. She joins a hollow meeting with Mon Mothma and senators. There's Xiono, who's an asshole, and then like there's a Gren, a couple other people. I think.
It's Mon Mothma and 4 senators, one of which really doesn't like Yara.
So like Mon Mothma, the diplomat, asks about Hera's son Jason. And,
hey, how you been? How's the kid?
yeah, and she's like, he's around here somewhere, but like since it's a military ship and there's nothing too dangerous like gun emplacements or bombs, like I'm not really looking after him, so I'm sure he's fine. And Xiono's like, enough of the chatter. We're very important, and we're late for the afternoon circle jerk committee. And Mon Mothma's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I left my lube at home. Okay, Hera, let's make this quick. And Hera's like, okay, my investigation into the attack on the Vesper led me to the Santh shipyards on Corellia, where I was attacked by Imperial loyalists still working for Morgan Elsbeth. And one of the senators was like, oh, I'm sure they were a lone wolf. Like all the former Imperials have pledged loyalty to us. And Hera's like, there were 12 of them. They screamed for the Empire and tried to shoot me in the face. Like, I'm starting to think they might not be loyal to the New Republic.
What that senator says is something along the lines of, there are former Imperials at every level of the New Republic.
Even this one. Everything's fine.
And I'm like, that's not something to like tout as a success right now.
There's something they do really good in this scene where it doesn't matter who's in charge. Politicians, particularly in the Star Wars universe, are really good at just putting their head in the sand. They don't want to hear anything that'll make them worried. Everything's fine. Thank you. Everything will be just fine. And it's like that scene from Mandalorian season 3 where Dr. Pershing gives his talk and then meets with some of the
hoity-toity.
Yeah, and everyone's like, is the Empire not in power anymore? I don't know the difference. Yeah. Honestly, I cannot tell. So Hera's like, here's the thing. There's something like brewing under our noses here, like something bigger. And Xiono's like, of course, there's always something bigger brewing. And she's like, yeah, look, fuckface, Thrawn is back. And Mon Mothma's like, how is that even possible? Like, he disappeared years ago at the end of Rebels season 4. And Hera's like, I know, I fucking saw it, but like
Morgan and her people certainly seem to think he's back, so I think we should take that seriously.
Yeah. She's like, look, give me a task force. We'll go to the Denab system. Like, I'm pretty sure everything we need to know is there. We tracked a ship. That's where it went. And Xiono's like, look, if you want to use the resources to find Ezra Bridger, just say you're looking for Ezra Bridger. And Hera's like, okay, you twat. You do understand that they disappeared together, right? Like, it logically follows that if one is alive, the other one could be alive. And just follow me here. If either of them is alive, that means Thrawn could be alive. That's bad. It's bad news. And
also, suck my green dick.
Yeah. Or my Laiku, whichever one you want. And Mon Mothma's like, well, thankfully, I'll be demilitarizing the New Republic at some point, so we'll have no way to defend ourselves against a threat like that. And Hera's like, wait, what?
Huh?
And she's like, oh, just go read the Aftermath books. Like, it's all in there.
Yeah, it's fine.
And Xiono is like, you know what I think? I think Ezra Bridger died heroically. And Hera's like, first of all, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you little fucking man. Second of all, did you even fight in the war? And Xiono's like, no, I had a circle jerk committee meeting that day, I think. And
no, I had a thing.
Yeah. And Hera's like, yeah, that fucking
yeah,
figures.
you're just sitting there waiting to see who would come out on top.
Yeah, exactly. You kept your head down, see who would win, and that's whose dick you're going to suck. So Mon Mothma's like, okay, Hera, things are getting a little heated up here.
Just let me talk to my people. We'll get back to you.
Yeah. Make sure you submit your request in triplicate. So she leaves. She goes out in the hallway, and her son Jason shows up, which, 3 episodes in, we get a Jason Syndulla thing, which, by the way, have you seen him in Rebels?
No.
He looks fucking ridiculous. Because he's like a little kid, and all kids look fucking ridiculous, but like, he's got green hair and his ears are fucking weird. I really don't like him. It's nice to see him as like a live action human. Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's little Jason Syndulla, which is not the response I had in Rebels, where Jason shows up like, oh God. So Jason is like, hey, like, I heard Aunt Sabine is learning to be a Jedi, and Hera's like, where the hell did you hear that? And she's like, I was literally there when they told you. And she's like, oh right, you're my kid, you're everywhere I am. And Jason's like, I want to be a Jedi. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Your dad wanted to be a Jedi. And then he died. So meanwhile,
Meanwhile, Legion of Doom.
Ahsoka and Sabine are having a post-training session tea party. And Ahsoka's like...
To which Hu Yang is very pointedly not invited.
Nope, he stays in the cockpit like he's told. So Ahsoka's like, look, you did all right. And Sabine's like, I know, I got the whole weapons thing. It's the whole Force thing that kicks my ass. Like, I was kind of hoping we could expedite the whole training thing since we're in a bad situation. And Ahsoka's like, yeah, that's not how anything works anywhere ever.
No.
And you're an idiot for thinking that. And she's like, okay, well.
Thanks, dick.
Yeah. I suck at the Force. Like, there isn't really another way to say it. And Ahsoka's like, yeah, you do. And
there's room for improvement.
Yeah. And granted, talent is actually a really important part of it when it comes to the Force. But training and focus will help you come a long way. Maybe long enough to save your life. So Ahsoka puts her teacup down. And she's like, not everyone is cool enough to handle the discipline. And then walks off.
Well, you missed the point where she like drags the teacup across the table with the Force. I saw that. I'm like, Ahsoka, you're being real extra.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's like, look what I can do that you can't do. So yeah, she like leaves her with like a little challenge, right? She's like, maybe start off small, you fucking idiot. So she leaves and yells at Hu Yang for being an asshole, pretty much. And Herod's like, look, or Hu Yang is like, look, nothing I said is incorrect. Like, she is not good at the Force. That is a fact. The Jedi wouldn't have taken her, and you know how much they fucking love taking kids. They would not have taken her. And Ahsoka's like, well, the Jedi are mostly dead now, so maybe their standard isn't like as great as you fucking think it is. And Hu Yang's like, you know, you do get that, like, there have been very few Mandalorian Jedi, right? And she's like, I guess, I don't know. I don't really care about that. I don't need her to be a Jedi. Like, I just need her to be herself, but with a lightsaber in the Force.
Yeah.
And Hu Yang is like, well, you do come from a long line of non-traditional Jedi, which I think is kind of a neat call out because
Qui-Gon, very non-traditional.
With the exception of Obi-Wan, that family, and even Obi-Wan at times, very non-traditional Jedi, right?
So,
Anakin,
who was taught by Obi-Wan,
Anakin, who was a hot mess the entire time, very non-traditional.
Obi-Wan, kind of the Boy Scout, but had that thing with the Duchess, and
but also like inherited more from Qui-Gon than he would have liked to admit.
Speaking of Qui-Gon, the Master could have been on the Council, but
didn't fucking want it.
Rather be out there actually helping people.
Yeah.
Taught by Dooku, who do we even need to
killed
mention?
Yaddle. I mean, like, come on.
I think Dooku's master was Yoda.
Yes, he was, and even Yoda.
Yoda's a little weird.
Yeah,
I mean, he talks backwards.
Yeah, everything about him is actually kind of non-traditional because there are striking similarities between Yoda and Qui-Gon, by the way, where like in the High Republic era, everyone's like, Yoda, we need you, like, you need to come back to the Council and help us figure everything out. He's like, no, I'm gonna go teach some kids. Fuck you guys. Like, that's pretty much his thing, you know. So anyway, meanwhile, Sabine is trying to use the Force on her teacup, and like, she's literally me.
Just, come on,
7 years old, trying to open my door just to see if the Force will work, right? Yeah. Me and all my friends, if I had them. The cup doesn't budge. And she's like, fuck you, teacup. So Ahsoka calls her on the intercom. He's like, hey, Hera's on the phone. Get your ass in here. So Hera's standing there as a hologram. Little tiny hologram. And she's like, I've got bad, like, here's the bad news.
Well, Sabine walks in and says, hey, when you meeting us with the fleet? Let's fucking kick their asses. Yeah.
So here's the bad news. I can't join you, and there won't be a task force. And Ahsoka's like, what the fuck? What's the good news? And she's like, there is no good news. It's only bad news. And all of a sudden, Hera's transmission is cut off because they've entered the Denab system, and the comms are being jammed. They have a little argument with Hu Yang over standard Jedi protocol, right?
Because they jumped out of hyperspace
like way too early. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, but here's the thing, and you should fucking know this. If they can't see us because we're too far away, they can't see us because we're too far away. So suck my metallic dick. And I like the moment where Sabine's like, oh, he's okay, so he's still an idiot. I get it. Okay, yeah. So he says, I'm detecting like something pretty big, giggity, over there by that planet. And Ahsoka's like, a Star Destroyer? And he's like, I don't think so. Like, it's I don't recognize the signature.
It's ring shaped.
Yeah. So on cue, they are pursued by 6 ships. There's Shin and Marak and then 4 unnamed red shirts that I'm sure will survive the fight.
And these guys, by the way, are just flying space P-51 Mustangs.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
that's literally all they are.
They actually look like in episode 3, the ship that Obi-Wan steals to get off of Utapau, which is actually General Grievous's personal ship.
Oh.
That's what they look like. I'll show you a picture during the Battlefront stream. Like they have striking similarities, but I'm pretty sure that one's based on an old World War II. You know, everything in Star Wars is just from World War II, pretty much. So, action sequence time. So Ahsoka's like, Sabine, get your ass on the tail gun, and she's like, okay. So
I thought you'd never ask.
Gets on the tail gun, and she's like, you deleted all my fucking preferences. Yeah.
So it was like, I didn't fucking need them.
I didn't need them because I'm a badass and I'm not an idiot. So, and so she's like, okay, well, it's going to take a couple seconds to get my fucking things in here.
Got to set my HUD back up and get the sensitivity just right.
Switch it to inverted stick. Yep. So she's like trying to get the ships. She can't get them because she's an idiot. Poor Sabine gets shit on so much in this episode, right? And like,
she can't get them because Ahsoka's not flying steady. Like
to be fair,
there's disagreements between the two.
Yeah, and to be fair, they are shooting at them. So like flying steady is very difficult. But like there's a moment where Ahsoka's like, okay, why don't you tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'll just kind of let go and let you steer. Not literally, but like
we'll do this like partners.
Yeah. And so Sabine's like, all right, well, you dive. And so she'll dive and she like was able to yeah. And then like she takes like 3 out in a row and she's like, oh, that's actually pretty fucking cool. Yeah. It's all the guys that we didn't know whose faces we couldn't see, right? Except for Marok, who at least he has a name. So everyone's dead.
Neat little thing in this. Shin has the little like metal head clip
from Obi-Wan has from episode 2. Yeah.
Or both of them have in the first scene of episode 3.
Right, in the Jedi Starfighters,
yeah. Starfighters, yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool too. That showed up in a trailer, which, by the way, most of the we've burned through a lot of the trailer footage already, and so I think there are a couple of other things they haven't showed yet. There's another face-off between Sabine and Shin that they haven't showed.
There's a fight between
Baylan and Ahsoka
at the Stone Circle,
and Thrawn's entrance, of course, is from the trailer that we haven't seen.
I think we saw a shot of Anakin somewhere in a trailer.
It was a shot of Anakin from Obi-Wan Kenobi, from that training scene where he looks 50 years old. But he's not from the show, but presumably he's going to be in it somewhere. Yeah. So they're running from the 2 remaining ships who are still like bearing down on them. And Hugh Yang is like, oh, hey, there's the big thing I mentioned earlier. Like, we're in visual confirmation range, and it's a giant hyperspace ring. And
they're like, holy shit, is that a giant hyperspace ring? Hugh Yang's like, probably.
I think so.
You fucking scan it, I can tell you for sure.
I mean, it looks like it. So Morgan Elsbeth is on this. By the way, I don't know if you can see the Discord up here. These looks at Morgan Elsbeth, her face is so funny. Not like in a bad way. Just she's very expressive with her face. Yeah, it just cracks me up.
It's great.
So she orders the turbo lasers to open fire.
I can blow them up.
Yeah, and Hugh Yang's like, look.
Stay on target.
Yeah, I need to scan this thing. We're only like 15% done. We need to get all the way. So like.
Stay on target.
Yeah. So the turbo lasers are like hitting them everywhere and shit. They got ships behind them. They're trying to blow them up. And the ship is disabled right as Hugh Yang is like completing the scanning.
Scan complete.
Yeah, and then the ship is disabled, which apparently I think we're to understand that Hugh Yang is like tied into the power of the ship at this point. Yeah. So Hugh Yang takes a nap. So there's this moment between Morgan and Shin, by the way.
She's like, great job. You almost got him.
Yeah. And because Morgan's like, oh, I'm surprised you let him get this far. And then when she doesn't, like she only disables him, she's like, oh, you didn't kill him. Let me do that for you. I'm having a feeling here that Shin does not like witches at all. They
don't like each other.
Which is great. I'm sure that there's some kind of betrayal waiting to happen here. So Ahsoka's like, they're dead in space. Sabine's like, nothing works. No hyperdrive, no guns. And Ahsoka's
and
like,
also, is that 2 space P-51s coming around at us?
Right. So their guns are warming up. And Ahsoka's like, oh, I've got an idea. Check this shit out. So
I'll deal with that. You fix the shit.
Yeah. Ahsoka.
He's like, how are you going to deal with that? And she's gone.
Just wait. Ahsoka has donned a spacesuit that has a perfectly tailored Torguda like shaped, helmet and shit.
Yeah.
And she just walks out on top of the ship and pulls her lightsabers out and is like, "Let's go, motherfuckers!"
bitches?
Yeah. So, like, they make a pass, right? And she deflects a couple. She's like, "Wah wah wah wah," and then they come around again, and then Ahsoka's like, she does the Rey thing from Rise of Skywalker, where she like flips into the air and like cuts a wing off, and that one crashes, and Shin is like, "Fuck, this is not going very well."
That was my favorite red shirt.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Sabine is in the cockpit trying to do a diagnostic, and there's a funny moment where she's like, "Hugh Yang, you're unconscious right now. You're an asshole. I fucking hate you. But it'd be really nice if you were like awake right now to help me with this. But you're not.
The one time I actually need you awake. And here you fucking are."
So she does the thing where she like crosses a couple of wires. Something
crosses
sparks.
The wires. She bypasses the compressor.
Yeah. So the ship's fixed. And they run for it. So they enter the atmosphere of the planet, and they encounter a pod of Purgle, who are the space whales, right?
They're flying through the clouds, and all of a sudden, giant space whale.
Yeah, and Shin and Marok are right behind them, and they lose them, and they land in the forest, and they power down to avoid detection. Mm-hmm. And Sabine has like this really weird expression on her face, where she's like, "I haven't seen those things since Ezra disappeared," which to me reads as, we might actually be on the right track. Because we don't know anything about those things, and like that's the thing in common with the last time we saw Ezra. Yeah. So we might actually be onto something here. So they turn the ship back on. Hugh Yang is able to analyze the scan, and he's like, "Look, it's a giant hyperspace ring. Everyone guessed it. It's capable of jumping to another galaxy."
But it's not quite ready yet.
Yeah,
it's still gotta get the last hyperspace core installed and powered up and all that.
Right.
Shit.
And so, and then Hugh Yang mentions Purgle and migratory patterns, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we just saw some Purgle," and he's like, "When, motherfucker? I don't want to miss that." So meanwhile, at Space Stonehenge, Balin Skull tells his henchmen, or Morgan Elsbeth's henchmen,
whoever, the red shirts,
yeah, he's like, they're hiding in the forest. Go fucking hunt him down. And he's like gazing pensively over the cliff. Yeah, he's like, "Oh yeah, look at this fucking beard. This is a good beard." And then that's where it ends, right?
Yep.
So we're gonna take a quick minute to play a little game, which is, who the fuck is Marok? Am I gonna write a little theme for this? Probably not. It's probably be a one shot thing.
I don't know.
I've got a list of fan theories that are mostly stupid.
Okay.
Some of them are particularly stupid.
Hit me with them.
Okay. First one, Ezra.
That'd be really fucking dark.
Yeah. I don't think this one's stupid.
I don't think it's stupid. I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, I do too. So in Rebels season 3, I think, Ahsoka is able to figure out who Darth Vader is by being around him and the Force. I'm pretty sure that she would have been like, "Ezra?" Like, because they had a fight. She was standing right there with him. Like, I think that she would know if it was Ezra.
I would argue, if I was interested in arguing this, I would say that like the connection she had with Anakin was significantly deeper and more robust than the one she ever had with Ezra. But I don't think it's Ezra anyway, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I still think she'd be able to tell, but
probably.
Barriss Offee is another candidate, which I think is very, very unlikely, because that actor that does the stunts in that suit is way too tall to be Barriss Offee. Like it's clearly a dude, and it's clearly like a dude that's like 6'1" or something. Yeah. Barriss Offee is very short, very, very, very tiny little person. So when I saw it today, I was like, ugh. And the thing that I hate about this is that there's some circumstantial evidence where I'm like, okay, fuck you. I get why you think that now, but it's still really stupid, and it's not it.
Is it Mace Windu?
No, because there would be no circumstantial evidence that would make that true. So Kanan Jarrus,
he's dead,
right? You would think. So Ahsoka would sense him too, I think.
Yeah, probably.
This is the weird circumstantial evidence that I saw.
Okay.
So in Arthurian legend, Marok is a knight who is transformed into a wolf by a witch named Morgan.
Okay.
And in Rebels, Kanan's whole thing was the wolves. Like, there was a big connection between him and the wolf and everything. And it's sketchy. It's sketchy evidence. It doesn't really make sense, because there are 1,000 reasons why he would. Like, why would he turn to the dark side? How would he have survived? First of all. Second of all, why would he turn to the dark side? He's got a fucking kid and the love of his life who didn't die in childbirth, which is why he turned to the dark side, right? Yeah. Like, he could just go and be like, oh, I'm going to be a dad or whatever, and that would be fine, right? So I don't get this. The one that I was like, oh, this might actually be a good idea. Because you know how, like, we had a whole Star Wars canon. Disney bought Star Wars. They made everything Legends, right? Mm-hmm. And they've kind of found interesting ways to bring over some Legends stuff. And they don't just copy paste it. Like, they kind of make it fit, right? It's kind of like how the MCU takes, like, the original comics, and they're like, okay, here's Thanos. Let's get rid of the Thanos copy because that's fucking stupid, but we'll do this and this, and like this makes sense. And he's trying to impress Death. That doesn't make fucking sense either. So, yeah, so we'll throw that away, and here we go, right?
Add Ron Perlman, and he snaps, and there you go.
It's not Ron Perlman.
Oh, is it not?
No, it's Josh Brolin, you fuck.
Okay.
How did you not know this?
It slipped my mind.
Well, I'll put it in the comments. Chris didn't know that Thanos is Josh.
I'm sorry, God.
But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Clone Luke. Do you see why, though?
Yeah.
What happens in the original Thrawn trilogy?
They find his hand and they fucking
clone Luke. There's a Darth Vader episode where Palpatine has a little tank with his hand from Bespin in it. And he's like, you know what I could do with this? First of all, I could finger myself, but also I could make clones out of it. And Vader's like, why would you do that? Either of those things. But sounds really bad.
Those are both really fucking weird.
Yeah. This, to me, reads like something that maybe they could bring over and change it and take out the things that are kind of stupid and have it kind of work.
Luke.
Yeah, right? Which was stupid. But, like, I don't think I would love it, but I don't see it and, like, that's impossible. Like that's ludicrous.
Yeah, I can kind of see it.
I don't think I would like it. You know, the most, like, the thing, Occam's razor, like the thing that makes the most sense, that has the least shit that comes along with it, it's just a new character that we don't know yet. That it was an Inquisitor during the Empire.
Just some random Inquisitor that Vader didn't manage to kill.
Yeah, because, like, maybe he wasn't good enough to even, like, Vader didn't even know he was there.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, oh, that guy's an Inquisitor? I literally thought he was a janitor. That's how he survived.
Yeah.
So probably a new character, I would think.
I would hope it's a new character.
Yeah. Mace Windu would not work either. for the same reason.
Obviously not because he's dead.
Yeah.
But
I think out of these canon jars is the one where I'm like, oh fuck you. Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So let us know in the comments who you think not canon jars is. We know who canon jars is. Yeah. Let me read through some of these. These
break
chats.
Out your magnifying glass.
Yeah, these are so small. Oh my god. Candace Wallace. Hold on, fuck you, Candace. I gotta go someone else ahead of you. Oh wait, hold on. No, you're up here further. Oh god, who? Jimmy says so. Basically, everyone could use the Force if they wanted to, even Watto. That's not what they said.
Is it not?
Not
because they said
no. So what I took from her lesson was, everyone. This is established too in the original trilogy. The Force flows through every living thing.
Yes.
Everyone has midi-chlorians. Mm-hmm. Everyone has the Force.
Yes.
It logically follows that, like, the chances there that maybe, like, one midi-chlorian's like, hey, what's up? For like 4 seconds, and then that's the only contact you ever have with the Force, right?
Okay.
And I think what she's saying is, like, you're not very good at it. Your connection to the Force is very weak, but maybe if you try really hard, you will get just enough to be able to save yourself in a fight. Like, you'll be able to, like, weakly push someone over and have the chance to run or something.
You can pull a teacup to you and have it, like, hit someone's head on the way.
And you're like, are you impressed by that? And like throw and, like, run away. Yeah. I believe Dexter Jester is one of the stories, too. Oh, I haven't gotten that far yet. Candace Wallace says, Jedi 101 class, LOL. That was actually really fun.
Yeah.
Todd. Sorry. That's a joke that no one will get. It's a George Carlin joke. It's a great show so far, but episode 3 had great moments, but slower compared. But let Dave Filoni do his job. And we saw Jason too. Yeah, I agree more or less with everything there. Fun fact, Xiono is the father of Kaz, the main character from Star Wars. Oh! How did I miss that? It's probably because I haven't seen all of Star Wars Resistance.
Oh.
Because I kept falling asleep, and not because it was super boring, just because I was really tired every time I tried to watch it. Candace says, well, she did say, since 6 of you couldn't hit one ship, I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's totally Ezra. It's a Disney movie. It's a Disney move for sure. I don't think that's true, actually. I think that's why everyone would be really surprised if it was Ezra, because it's decidedly not Disney.
Yeah.
Like, it's very not Disney, because like that's the hero from. They don't like to make heroes bad guys like that too often. It's like everyone thought Rey was going to turn to the dark side in the sequel trilogy. They were never going to have a female good guy turn to the dark side. It's like why George Lucas originally planned for Luke Skywalker to just like have a mad grin on his face and put his dad's helmet on and be like, I'm the Dark Lord now.
Yeah.
Like that was literally his original thought. They didn't do that either, right? Anakin's a different story, but that's because they reverse engineered a bad guy into a good guy, right? Todd says new character from Inquisition. I agree with that. And then over here, you've got Caleb says, me over here, not minding the occasional 30-minute episode, making me feel like I'm back in middle school watching the Clone Wars. Yeah, all right.
The problem is like every single episode is going to be 30 minutes from here on out.
Yeah. I think I have a Boken in my closet somewhere. You let that Boken come out of the closet. I was on a youth group trip and saw one in a weapons store in my youth. The pastor wouldn't let me buy an actual sword. That's fair. And really,
I mean, you can still fuck someone up with a Boken.
I have so many deep tissue bone wounds from Boken.
Like you can give someone a concussion with a Boken.
Yeah. Also, I know I've hit you very hard with Bokens before too. Mm-hmm. In fact, I remember once in an Aikido class I taught where I told a student, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to actually hit you.
And then you hit them.
And I hit them and like actually kind of hard. And it just because I wasn't thinking and I was like, oh my God. So I wonder, hollow movies exist in Star Wars. Are there hollow movie adaptions of the events of the main movies? That's a neat idea. Suck the green vulva, you tiny little man baby. That's my favorite comment today. Is that your catchphrase? Suck my blank dick. It's a mouthful, but it's funny. I tell people to suck my dick a lot. I don't necessarily need my dick sucked a lot. Like it gets sucked enough. Like I'd say like an adequate amount, right? But it's not, I don't know.
It's just a nice way to tell someone that you don't like them very much.
I'm a quarter Australian. I say a lot of shit I shouldn't say, honestly. All right, we're moving to Battlefront. The discussion will continue over there. Hope